Welcome to the Author Corner, our chance to meet the authors you'll want to read. I'm Stephanie Larkin, and I'm delighted to be joined by author and retired homicide detective Michael O'Keefe. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for
Thrilled to
having
have
me.
you. And Mike's latest book, A Reckoning in Brooklyn. I love this. It's a kind of scary-looking sunset there.
Yeah, it's that's actually I did the cover myself with some assistance from a friend of mine who's a graphic designer. But I actually bought the photograph. That's a pretty famous photograph in downtown Brooklyn, overlooking the Manhattan Bridge.
Nice.
And I bought the rights to it and messed around with the cropping, but I felt it needed some color aspect.
Yeah.
So I had these ideas and I sketched it with colored pencil, but it looked awful. Until my friend Patty got it, and she was like, "Oh, I can work with this," and this is what came of it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Makes me want to read it.
Wow.
So tell us how you got your start in writing, because you wrote a lot. I mean, this is your latest, but this is a prequel to Shot to Pieces. And you also have 13 stories or short stories.
Yeah, 13 stories fractured, twisted, and put away wet. That's 13 prize-winning or published short stories I put together as a collection. And
so you've been busy.
I've been busy.
How long have you been writing?
I retired in 2010 and kept threatening to write a book. My wife got tired of hearing about it, so she bought me a laptop, threw it at me, and said, "Just write the thing."
Nice.
So I started Shot to Pieces. I had an idea of a story in my head that was largely autobiographical. I had a very eventful career. A lot of bumps. So I started writing that and outlining it. I incorporated one of my old homicide cases from Brooklyn into it, which was a very interesting case. And but ultimately, by the time I got done with it, it was more about the people and their dysfunctions than than the actual crime thing.
That's what makes it so great.
But it took me. I was on a run. I was probably 75% done with it in like 7 months. But then I couldn't figure out how I wanted to end it. I didn't know if I wanted a happy ending or if I wanted Detective Durr to go down in flames. So I put it away for a couple of months, gave myself the summer off. And by the time the summer ended, I figured it out, wrote it. All through the editing process, I was trying to have it published traditionally, which I'm not wasting my time with that anymore.
Yeah, I understand.
But I finally decided to self-publish.
Okay.
So that came out in, I want to say 2012.
Now, at that point, did you know, because Shot to Pieces has other books that are coming out in the series?
Yes.
Did you know that when you finished Shot to Pieces that there would be more?
I knew that there could be more, just largely because, I mean, I worked hundreds of homicides. I have plenty of material.
Right.
But I wasn't sure that anybody would want to see another Paddy Durr novel.
Okay.
Until everybody told me when's the next Paddy Durr novel coming.
Oh, okay. So you wrote it as a standalone, but the great reviews.
I wasn't sure if I had another book in me.
Okay.
It turns out I had several.
And there's more to come.
Yeah, but yeah, absolutely. I have the A Reckoning in Brooklyn is actually the prequel to Shot to Pieces. Paddy Durr appears as a 17-year-old in it, and we get a lot of explanation on what put him on the path to becoming a cop in the first place.
Gotcha.
But the next book is a true sequel. It's called Burnt to a Crisp. Based again on one of my old homicides, was an arson that resulted in 3 deaths: an elderly man, his wife, and their 33-year-old son who had Down syndrome. Obviously not intended targets of the arson, but it was a very difficult case, one of my most challenging cases, and frankly I'm proud of it. So yeah, that's going to be a part of a book.
All right. Tell me about the name Paddy Durr. That's your protagonist through the books and the books to come.
Yeah, I actually, when I first made the character Paddy Durr, I had no intention of keeping that name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but because it's my birth name.
How did I not know that?
I don't know. I don't talk about it much, but I was adopted, and my birth name was Paddy Durr. Different spelling. It was D-E-R-R was my birth name. I changed this to U just because I liked the way it looked. And it was really just a working name until, reading it back to myself, I'm like, No, that's the name.
Wow.
Yeah, and the other thing
So
is
it
to
is
be perfectly honest.
autobiographical.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
I mean, right, I knew that, but right down to the name. I didn't realize that was your birth
Yeah,
name.
yeah. Well, nobody did. The only one who got it, and I didn't even know he knew it, was my brother.
Okay.
And I'm like, how do you even know? He goes, I saw the adoption paperwork in Daddy's drawer.
No.
I was like, well, you didn't think to tell me about it? Because I didn't find out until when I was getting married. I didn't have a baptismal certificate.
Okay.
My mother kept giving me this, it's like a rededication certificate under the name Michael O'Keefe.
Okay.
And Holy Redeemer in Freeport is just not accepting it. They're like, no, you need the baptismal certificate.
Right.
And my mother was a difficult woman to deal with. Her truths were her own. I finally had to sit her down and interrogate her. I'm like, listen, I can't get married without this. What's going on?
Right, right.
And she basically referred me to the family hospital in Manhattan.
Oh my gosh.
So I go down there, and the Monsignor doesn't want to give me anything. He actually pulled out the blotter of the births. There was only one male birth on March 19th in 1963. And I'm reading the name upside down. I'm like, old man, you have two choices. Turn that book around and give me all the information, or go take a walk, and I'll turn the book around and take all the information. He's like, I'm not allowed to do that technically, because back then all the protections were on the adoptive parents.
Right.
And I assured him, I'm getting that information. So finally he gave it to me because he realized I was getting that information. Right. And it was cool.
Yeah.
Because I was able to now just take that small bit of information on my origin and spin it out in a gazillion different directions. None of them good, by the way. So, I mean, what I've concluded, because my birth mother was a 17-year-old Irish girl from Omaha. My birth father, who I know very little bit about, was the Irish print shop owner that she worked for. So I might have been the product of a rape, but at the very least it was a sexual exploitation thing.
Right, right.
And after she gave birth to me, she went back to Omaha and never came back.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was one of the reasons why people ask me, why don't you go look your mother up? I'm like, I don't know that she wants to see me. Yeah. I might be something that she's very happy to have in her rearview mirror. Why would I want to force someone to revisit a time that maybe was a horror for them?
Yeah, no, I get that.
So I let that go.
Good choice.
Yeah, you know, can't all be about you.
No, that's really...
So, and I have enough information.
That's amazing.
And I like the ability to spin out different versions of it.
Yeah.
So eventually I'll pick one and write it.
I had no idea. I'm going to reread your book now with a totally different... Had no idea, and I've always wanted to ask you that question.
I actually have a short novella out also called Not Buried Deep Enough.
Okay.
The protagonist in that actually is my story growing up.
Okay.
And it has all the aspects of the adoption and the aftermath. And
all right, so I know I'll be getting a good email later.
There you go.
With a whole lot of stuff involved.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so you set to work writing Shot to Pieces, wrote it in about 7 months, took some time off, made some decisions about how you were going to go about publishing, but it sounds like the whole thing was put together in a year.
Was ready for publication in a year. Maybe took me 6 months of getting frustrated, querying agents. And then I made the brilliant decision to use a pay-to-play publisher. $12,000 later.
Oh, ouch.
Well, I made the money back, so I'm all right.
All right.
But what cut it for me with this publisher was I wasn't able to advertise on Amazon. They wouldn't make me an agent of the book.
Oh, dear.
So I finally get somebody on the phone, and I talk to them. I'm like, listen, just make me an agent of the book, and I can do my own advertisement. You don't have to get involved. They're like, no, we don't do it that way. You give us $7,000, and then we structure a campaign for you. I said, so let me get this straight. For $140 in Amazon ads, I'm going to give you $7,000? You were so fired, it isn't even funny.
Right, right.
And I killed the publishing contract that day. 3 days later, I put the book back up on Kindle Direct Publishing.
You know, just your saying this is really opening a lot of eyes for people. Thank you. I appreciate
All right.
that. That's great. So you're published with Shot to Pieces, and did you already have the next books in mind that you were going to work on, or did you give yourself a break?
I had an idea of a reckoning in Brooklyn because I grew up in Bushwick,
Okay.
and a lot of the characters, particularly the mafia characters, people I knew. My problem, most of the books about the mafia tend to glorify them.
Okay.
And I know they're nothing but knuckle-dragging thugs who would rob their own mothers. And that whole omerta thing, they're spraining their backs trying to flip on each other. So I wanted to write a mafia book that basically exposed them for what they were.
Right.
And I wanted to set it in the 70s in Bushwick when heroin was killing the neighborhood. And I had it kind of outlined, but I wasn't ready to write it. And then I blew out my Achilles playing baseball. Yeah.
I'm loving this.
Yeah.
I am loving this.
I'm an idiot. I mean, I frankly admit it. Against the doctor's advice, I went back to the gym a week after the surgery, repairing it. You know, with the big boot,
Right,
big
right.
Frankenstein boot. Well, you sweat in the gym, and the sweat goes down, and it soaks the bandages, it gets into the wound, and the next thing you know, you have septic. So
God.
I realize I have an infection. I go back to the doctor, and he's furious with me. He takes the boot off. He won't give me anything to cover it but a piece of gauze and an ace bandage. And he says, you're going to sit in your recliner for 3 weeks.
Ooh.
Well, I did. And in 3 weeks, I had a book.
All right.
The first draft of A Reckoning in
I'm
Brooklyn
going to
was
send people
there.
to your doctor, man, who want to write.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love
Well,
that.
first you got to tear
Yeah.
your Achilles. That's a nightmare. Don't do that. No, yeah, the first draft was born in 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I mean, it's obviously revisions and
Of course, of
additions.
course.
The biggest addition was most recently, right before I published it. In my book events, you know, you develop a following, and some people aren't just followers; they're fans, borderlining stalkers. And I got one. Who, by the way, he's a dear friend now. I love the man.
Your stalker is a friend.
But
I
he
love
was feeling like a stalking because Angelo Florio was a retired detective, and he in 1973 he got shot. No way he should have survived this. Doing an undercover buy. Turned out to be a drug rip, and he takes a .357 in the chest. And he's coming to all of my book events. Shot to Pieces moved him. And he always wanted somebody to tell his story. He wasn't able to write it. So he's coming, and he lives at the Outer Bridge Crossing end of Staten Island. And he's coming to all of my events on Long Island, in Manhattan. And he wants me to write his story. But really, it's one event.
Right, right.
You know, he wasn't a cop long enough.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to explain to him, I don't have time. I'm writing my own stuff. I got other books in the works. I'm basically shining them on. Finally, it comes out for the opening of 13 Stories I did in Coogan's in Manhattan, and he's there. And finally, my wife, Janet, said, you got to do something for this guy. So I said to him, I said, look, Ange, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Your story is not a book. In Shot to Pieces, my big gunfight story is in it, but it's not the book. It's a chapter in the book.
Right.
What I can do for you, if you don't mind, I will write your character into my next novel, and we'll use your event. We'll update. It won't be 73. It'll be 79.
Right.
It'll take place in Bushwick, not Flatbush, but it's going to be your story.
Right.
And he said, oh, that would be wonderful. He thought that was great. So I wrote the material. I figured out where it could fit into the book.
He's such a good guy, man.
No, I'm not. I'm a mercenary because I'm making money on him now. So, but in any event, I write him into the book, and I send him his pages. I said, listen, I'm done with the first draft of your material. I figured out where it fits in the book. I'm going to send it to you in a file. Read it. If you want to make any changes, make some changes. Give me a call. Whatever you want to do, email it back.
Right.
Because it's not too late. It's not published yet. I can fix anything. So I send it to him. An hour later, he calls me back. I see his number on the caller ID, and all I hear on the other end is him blubbering. He was so moved.
Oh.
So
I love this.
yeah. So when I did my first book launch with the book, I knew he was coming, but I made sure that he was coming, and I allowed him to read his pages to the audience, and it was
Okay, now
very
you're going to have
powerful.
like every retired detective.
But I'm
wanting-
okay with that because I'm calling around and asking permission to use
Okay.
my old friends.
Okay, good,
Like,
because
for
they're going to be
instance-
busting down your door, man.
Well, in the book that I'm working on now, Paddy Durr book that I'm working on now, I don't even have a title yet. It's called Paddy Durr 4. But a big investigation occurs in 113. I have dear friends that work there that were phenomenal detectives. One of them, my friend Dwayne Epps, passed away last year. I got his wife's permission to write him into the book. And Detective Stevie Peelan, phenomenal, legendary detective from the 113. We actually went into the detective bureau together. Called him up, and he was all excited. He was like, yeah, write me in. He's got one of those raspy voices. Yeah, I want to be in your book. So it's nice because I'm getting to, and they're novels, so they're not, they're fictional accounts.
Right. But it's giving you more
But
material.
their personality is
Yeah,
there. They're
yeah.
going to recognize themselves.
Right.
And, well, hopefully they're going to like it. Otherwise, I got a problem, lawsuit problem. But no,
Well,
it's...
you're sending it in advance.
If I like
so-
you and your name really appears in my novel, A, you've given me permission, and it's going to be... You're going to like it.
Right.
Okay. If I don't like you, I'm going to change your name, but you're going to recognize yourself.
Has that happened?
Oh, yeah. I settle a lot of scores.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Did anybody notice?
Well, I have a U.S. attorney who was in Shot to Pieces. I changed her name, but it's her. And
Did she read the book?
Yeah, and she's furious. A retired captain friend of mine who lives in the same village as her upstate says she wants to sue you, but I don't think she will. I'm like, why? He goes, because you know why. I'm like, because she'd have to walk into open court and admit that she's that scoundrel.
It's true. What do you say in court?
Yeah.
I want to sue this guy.
Oh, you know that
for-
awful human being, that miserable miscreant? That's me. I identify with that. Go for, you know what? It'd be worth the 10 grand.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. Like, what do you say? You're right. How
Yeah.
do you sue you off of that?
So.
You changed enough identifying information.
Yeah, and then the other thing is stupid cops, bad cops, corrupt cops. They're composites.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I basically.
There's so many of them that you could just make.
Well,
a
it's not that
composite.
there's so many. It's are levels of my era of policing. Corruption wasn't as rampant or organized as it was in the 60s and the 70s.
Okay.
Prior to the Knapp Commission. So it's a different kind of corruption. It's basically bad human nature taking its toll, people having opportunity. We used to call guys making scores, scoop and score, untended. The problem is they're not just taking money, they're taking guns and drugs and recycling them. Those are the guys that need to go to prison.
Right.
So I never personally saw it, but I knew about it.
Right.
And I knew who they were.
Yeah.
They appear in my books, but not under their own name. And, they're obviously composites of other bad cops. I don't write negatively about the police department. My heroes are cops. In my books, the best people in the books are cops. But there are...
It's good and bad every place.
Well, that's the other thing about the police department. People are... not everybody's on the same page. Not everybody became a cop for the same reasons.
Right.
And one of the dirty secrets that the police department doesn't want you to know is that 90% of the police work's being done by 5% of the cops, and everybody else is kind of stealing their paycheck. That was so when I was working. I don't imagine it's changed. So that comes out in my books.
Tell me, when you were a kid, did you ever think you were going to become an author? Were you good at English?
I wanted to be, yeah, I was. I wanted to be a writer.
Did you?
My introduction to writing was, believe it or not, in 7th grade at Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal. And I had a teacher, her name was Ann Wintergerst. And I was in love with her. Total smoke show.
I hope Ann is watching this show right now.
I hope so. I'll send her a link because I have her email. But it was my first introduction to creative writing. She had me writing poetry. She had me writing little short vignettes, stories, and I liked it. I found that I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I was necessarily any good at it. I know I never handed an assignment in on time. I was a horrendous student. But it got me on the road to writing.
And look, Ann, now he's got books.
Yeah. So, well, what's interesting about Ann is she's Dr. Ann Wintergerst, and she's the chairman of the English Literature Department at St. John's University.
Really?
So, yeah.
Did you invite her to book events?
Yeah, she hasn't been able to make any. But
she'll be like, I remember Mikey. He never handed anything on time.
No, I actually saw her at, we had a 40th reunion.
Nice.
And she came to, and she's tremendous.
Wow.
Like, yeah.
So that was your first inspiration. I love that.
Yeah, and then through high school, St. Francis Prep.
Okay.
They had a poetry magazine.
Mm-hmm.
They had short story contests, plays. Just I was writing all through high school.
Right.
And then when I got to college, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I took everything for a short time and then dumped it all. But the thing that I stayed with was English, particularly writing. I was at the School of Visual Art for 2 years, knowing I wasn't going to be an artist, but I stuck around because their creative writing program was so good. Couldn't get a degree in it, but it was good, and I was getting things published in student publications and stuff.
I love this. The seeds were there the whole time.
Yeah, they were there.
And then you became a detective.
Well,
homicide.
Once I got on the police department, I really didn't have time to. I probably could have made time to creatively write.
Right.
But it's almost a primitive way cops tell stories, and they have to be oral.
Okay.
I mean, the culture at the time that I became a cop is everybody was in the bar, and you were sharing stories.
Right.
And it was great. It was like an oral history, and I didn't write for a long time, and you know, all my writing was geared toward police paperwork. When I became a detective, as a young detective, I caught a crazy gunpoint robbery gang thing in Queens. Mm-hmm. Machine guns. It was a gang called Flip the Script. In any event, I make a great case on this. I get everybody involved. I make the arrests. I get confessions. Just super work for a rookie detective. But I take one of the old-time detectives' advice, who says document nothing. Mm-hmm. Because then you can't get tripped up on the stand. So, oh, okay, so I didn't write anything down. A case like that takes 2 years to go to trial. You don't remember anything if you didn't write it down.
Right, right.
I
Sure.
look like a boob on the stand in cross-examination. The only reason that the case was saved is I threw myself on the sword in front of the jury and said, listen, I took some bad, I was a young detective, didn't know better, took some bad advice, and I did not sufficiently document this case. I do not have a personal recollection, I just don't have an independent recollection. If I would tell you things, I'd be lying, and I'm not going to do that either.
Right, right.
The guy got convicted and ended up getting 30 years, so it worked out. But from that day forward, when I would do my investigative follow-up reports, called DD5s in the police department, I would write them as narrative stories, basically telling myself a story.
Nice.
Because I'm going to remember that. And it was so effective that by the end of my career, not this case, but the one that's going to be in Burnt to a Crisp.
Okay.
That that wasn't even a case folder anymore. It was 2 boxes
Okay.
full of documents
Wow.
and reports. And
Wow.
there was so much involved in that investigation.
Right, right.
So when I went to get up on the stand, I'm carrying both of these things. I thumped them on the table in the witness stand and swear in as a witness. And I spend 3 hours in direct examination and never have to refer to a piece of paper in the case because I remembered it, because I wrote it as a
Because you
story.
wrote it, right.
And it drove the defense attorney crazy because he wanted to slow things down and get me going to look things up because he thought that he was going to get some inconsistencies. I was like, no, I don't have to refresh my recollection. I remember.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
And when you walk in with boxes, they're like, yeah, he knows.
Yeah.
He's got this going on.
Yeah, and I predicted that defendant would die in prison. It took a lot shorter than I thought it would. He was dead within a month.
No.
Well, he killed the wrong people.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And they had people in the state prison system. It doesn't take a lot of money to get a murder done in jail. So, but that's not my purview. That's the Ossining Police Department can handle that investigation.
Oh my gosh.
but
So
yeah.
always eye-opening to sit with you.
Uh,
Absolutely eye-opening to sit with you.
yeah. I have a moral relativity about certain things.
I get
like when
that.
bad stuff happens to bad people,
Yeah.
I'm not so disturbed with that.
Yeah, well, you've seen a lot of bad stuff happen to bad people.
Yeah, I need there to be karma. I personally,
Yeah.
from an emotional standpoint, I need some karma. So.
Well, I'm thrilled you're here, and I'm thrilled that you're still writing. So the next book is ready to go in edits, and you're already on the 4th book after that in your
Yes,
head.
I just got to title it.
Oh my gosh, it's just pouring out of you.
Yeah. And I have a couple of other things outlined that I might leave the genre for a little bit and write something different.
What are you doing, like romance?
I actually have. It's a sort of a crime story. It's a basketball story, college basketball story in New York from the 80s
All right.
that involves point shaving. So there's a mafia and a
All right. So it
corrupt
might not be
U.S.
Paddy
attorney
Durr,
element.
but yeah.
But there's an amazing May-December romance in it. So I could
Alright.
actually write it as a romance. But we'll see.
Thank you for joining us. And you can find Michael O'Keefe, I believe, at michaelokefeauthor.com.
If you go on my webpage, I would encourage you to sign up for my newsletter.
Okay.
You get all sorts of Easter eggs, free Easter eggs,
All right.
when I put my newsletter out. New poetry, new writing, maybe a short story here and there.
Terrific. Thanks for joining us on the Author Corner.
We're just books up on a shelf. Try to understand this if you can.